I thought it would be fun to film outside, but it's actually so bright. Yeah, my guess is that this does not sound good at all. Also, I can't see. Okay, scrap this. Popping on for a quick Wuthering Heights update. I'm listening on audio. I'm up to 11%. I just listened to every single narrator and found which one I could handle the most. This is Patricia Rutledge. I think she's doing a really good job. I like her voices. I have tried to read Wuthering Heights 5 times and I've never made it further than, let me find, right here, which is the end of chapter 5. And I currently am at the beginning of chapter 5. So I'm basically caught up with what I've read before. I remember very little about this. In this last section, we did just reach a part where all of a sudden she kind of starts talking about how everybody's related to each other. Nope. Nothing. I mean, I paused the book, I rewound it, I was on a walk, so I couldn't just like stop and sit down and draw out a family tree. I got nothing. So I came back and I pulled up a family tree. It's probably a little bit of a spoiler, maybe, because I would imagine like kind of how all of these people's relationships intertwine, especially who ends up married to who, is maybe a little bit of a spoiler, but I was so lost. The problem is that if you've never read this or you don't know what I'm talking about, everybody has like the same 3 names, or maybe 4. There's Kathy/Catherine, Heathcliff, Linton, and Earnshaw. And those 4 names, sometimes it's somebody's first name and last name. Like there's a person named Linton Heathcliff. There's Heathcliff. There's Catherine Linton, Catherine Heathcliff, Catherine Earnshaw, Hinton Earnshaw. Tell me those are not all the same person. This is giving me several years back before I had actually watched Star Wars, and I just thought that Luke Skywalker and Anakin Skywalker were the same person, and that one of them was a nickname for the other. Yikes. Okay, my husband corrected me quickly about that assumption. I just kind of picture Emily Brontë sitting in her house like, I'm about to ruin these people's lives. She had to have done this on purpose. She had to have. She's joking. She's playing with us. I think she's playing with us. All in all, it's fine. It's going fine. I'll check back in once I have more updates. Maybe I'll have a better idea who's who. Maybe. To a used bookstore. I got 4 books for under $5. I think I spent $4.55 because most of these were 75 cents, which is insane. So how can I say no? How can I say no? So the first book is Talking to Girls About Duran by Rob Sheffield. He wrote a book called Love is a Mixtape. It's a memoir about him losing his wife and just all the music that they listened to and loved together. I loved that book. I read it in 2025. It was a really strong read for me, and I loved his writing, so I knew that I would want to read more of what he wrote. I love reading good writing about music, and I know that I can trust Rob Sheffield's writing. The next 3 books I'm planning on getting to in February. I like to do themed TBRs, and I usually read for Black History Month in February. This year I'm specifically reading for Black History Month and books of the African diaspora because I want to read more around the world and from different countries. So the first book on that group, and actually this book is on my 26 in 26, and I didn't have a physical copy, so I'm very happy to have found it for, again, 75 cents, is The Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. DuBois. This is generally considered a classic in Black history, Black studies, Black cultural studies. So I really wanted to get to it this year, and I'm excited to have a copy that I can annotate and write in because I know I will want that. The other 2 books are books or authors that I knew about from some of my research into African writers. So I'm really happy to have found copies of them because my library didn't have either of these. So the first is Shelf Life, Chronicles of a Cairo Bookseller by Nadia Wassef. This obviously is for Egypt, and this is a memoir about a person who works in a bookstore, who owns a bookstore. And I love bookstore owner memoirs. Did I say that right? Yes. That's one of my favorite just kind of random niche subgenres. Another memoir that I got The Dragons, the Giant, the Women. Sorry, it was kind of hard to read. I love this cover, but the text was like going in and out for me. By Wayétu. Moore is the author of the novel She Would Be King, which I have not read yet. I would also really like to read that, but it was pretty big several years ago when it came out. And this is Moore's memoir of when she was a child having to escape Liberia due to war. So probably won't be very cheery, but again, I think I'll learn a lot. So I'm looking forward to this one. After the used bookstore, I went to my favorite indie bookstore, my local indie, which is Bookmarks in Winston-Salem. I got a few things, just 3. I was pretty well behaved. I found a lot of books. I love their stock. They stock such good world lit, translated lit. So I was like making notes of all sorts of things in my library app. I couldn't afford to just buy them all. The 2 that I got, well, let me show you first. I got a cute journal. I was actually looking for a journal, just a fun little journal that I can slip into my purse. So I'm excited about this. But the 2 books that I got are both poetry. I intentionally picked 2 that were from, again, kind of other places around the world so I could count them for my Around the World reading challenge. So the first is Hair on Fire, Afghan Women Poets, which first of all, I love the shape of it. I love this kind of little square book. I think the cover is amazing. 5 female Afghan poets wield language to combat the loneliness, absurdity, and claustrophobia of life in a war-torn country and its diaspora. I'm really excited about it. I used to be really obsessed with reading things based in Afghanistan. I think kicked off by how much I love Khalid Hosseini's works, The Kite Runner and Thousand Splendid Suns. So I read a lot of Afghan fiction and nonfiction for a long time. I haven't read it in a bit, so I'm excited to get back to that. Lastly, we go to Persia. Specifically, I guess I would count this as Iran on my current day Read the World Challenge, with Faces of Love, which is the poetry of Hafez and what they call the Poets of Shiraz. This basically is a big volume, the collections of several well-known Persian poets. I've interacted with some Hafez poetry before and really liked it and wanted to read some more. So I was happy to find it in this grouping. The cover was just so gorgeous, and I actually put this one back on the shelf and thought, no, I'll just get one in the journal. But then I couldn't find a journal that I liked, so then I went back for this one. And then when I got up to the counter, they had a really cute journal. So then I was like, well, okay, I guess I'm buying all 3. It's how it goes. It's how it goes. But anyway, let me get them all. We can do a cute little actually really excited. This was fun. I didn't need to spend money and I didn't need to get more books. It's January 4th, I should know. Yeah, I'm not buying more books and it's January 4th. It was a fun day, a fun outing. Happy to have these books on my shelf. Fingers crossed they all get read this year. Nothing is gonna carry over to 2027. I'm saying it right now. Okay, talk to you later. Bye. I am out and about a little bit today. 2 main errands. One is the library. I have a book that came in on hold. I'm so excited. Hold on, let me show you what I'm going to be taking back, tell you about what I'm picking up. I'm returning 2 books that I finished. One is The White Mosque by Sofia Samatar. This is a memoir. I loved it so much. It was so good. Set in Uzbekistan, which was so interesting. And then The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I finished this book in one sitting. I stayed up till 2:30 a.m. to finish this book. And the one I'm picking up is the sequel, A Drop of Corruption. Running into the library to get that, maybe perusing a little bit. I mean, probably perusing a little bit. And then it's so nice here today. It's like 60 degrees and sunny. Sometimes I really do love living in the South. So I'm gonna go for a walk. I'm gonna go try out a new greenway in my town that I haven't been on before. I think it's a 3-mile loop, which would be perfect. I want to get some good listening time in on Wuthering Heights. I'm about halfway, so I think that at least an hour more listening today will get me, you know, some good progress. But let's go in the library. I got the goods. And I'm at, well, I was gonna say I'm at the trail. I'm not really, as you can see by the, I didn't even mean to like frame the church like this. The parking lot at the trailhead was full. I guess everybody else had the same idea as me, like, oh, it's so nice today, let me go walk. So I had to drive like back up the street a ways and park at the church. Probably gonna add like another mile to my walk, but I don't know. I'm here. I'm kind of determined. I didn't feel like driving anywhere else. Great success at the library. Let me show you what I got. Drop of Corruption. It's in my hands. I predict I'm going to read this one in basically one sitting too as well. I'll just have to start it earlier in the day so I don't have to stay up all night. So in addition to Drop of Corruption, I picked up 2 nonfiction. I picked up, this is kind of like a collection of stories and essays and stuff by Vonnegut. I also, while I was in there thinking about how I'm not 100% sure how I feel about what's happening in Wuthering Heights, saw this, which is a collection of like academic essays about Wuthering Heights. I probably won't read the whole book all the way through. I may pick and choose which ones I want to read. So I'm gonna go over to this trailhead. I might try and drive over there one more time and see if somebody's left because this church is kind of far. Okay, let's see. I'll report back. Okay, I got a spot. Let's go walk. Back home from the walk, I have a little iced latte, sugar-free and dairy-free. Yeah. I miss milk and I miss sugar. But it's January, so hard decisions had to be made. I made it past the 50% mark on Wuthering Heights on my walk and my drive, and I definitely have thoughts. So I've started doing this thing this year where I've been keeping notes in my notes app as I go throughout books to kind of help me later when I write my review. Well, my notes for Wuthering Heights are not really helpful for a review. They're honestly more like live tweet formatted. So I thought I would just read them to you all. I'm not even going to attempt to assemble my thoughts into something. I'm just going to read you straight out of the notes app. This should be fun. Note 1, has to be audio, so much more interesting. So thank you so much to Patricia Rutledge, who's the narrator I'm listening to. She's actually doing a really, really good job. These characters are very dramatic and they go into these fits of passion and she commits. Like she really goes for it. And so that is making it fun. I was actually barking with laughter at some of these early scenes with Lockwood and the family. I did not expect this book to be funny. And then an update at 37%, this book is not funny. And then the smiling with a tear emoji. Nobody's laughing anymore, okay? Kathy stayed at these people's house 5 weeks. If you know, you know. Oh, then my point about Emily Brontë giving everybody the same names, but I have a follow-up as I've read. This has actually become clearer. I have a really good idea of who everybody is now. It makes kind of a lot of sense for the plot and the storyline, why everybody has the same names. So my apologies to Emily for assuming that she had ill intent. Kathy is a straight up menace. And then ... Oops. Now I feel bad for saying that because I think she genuinely is unwell. I think that were she to be living today, she would likely be diagnosed with something. Bless Edgar for, in the middle of Kathy's like psychotic break, the way that he just goes to her and cares for her and tries to return her to health. So I would love Mr. Rochester to take note. Maybe when your wife seems like she might be unwell, you don't have to just throw her in the attic and lock away the key. Okay. I said, damn 18th and 19th century novels for their insistence on a frame narrative. Eye roll emoji. Just tell the story. Everyone who said this is their fave book ever, y'all okay? I cannot lie, I'm really ready for this book to be over. So how are we feeling about Nellie? I think I like her and her actions, but then I remember that she is the narrator of this story, so we're definitely getting her version of events, and she is kind of painting herself and her actions in a certain light, and she kind of keeps coming off as very self-righteous, but she also is the only one, besides Edgar, bless Edgar, who is not, to be honest, like certifiably insane. So last update is at around 50%, the action really pops off. It popped off on this walk. Like, we're talking death, dying, wishing people dead, attempted murder, damning people to eternal torment, saying if I can't have you, at least come haunt me so that you'll never leave my side. Get a little crazy around here. I'm not exactly sure where we're gonna go from here. I guess we're gonna move on to the next generation and see what happens there. So it was a good walk, a great library trip. I'm making progress in Wuthering Heights. It's Tuesday today. I would love to finish this by Friday. I'm not sure if that's realistic unless I kind of sit down and read some chapters physically, but we'll see. Said I wasn't going to finish this book by Friday. However, it's Wednesday, the next day, and I sat down last night and banged out the last 40% of Wuthering Heights on the page. I finished the book. I did not like this book. I did not have a good time with this book. I'm so glad that I'm done with this book. Okay, let me try to be more thoughtful. When I finished last night, I was irritated. I mean, I kind of kept reading out of spite because I was having such a bad time and I was so annoyed with these characters and with this story. I was trying to think of why I was not enjoying myself so much. And I think the issue is that I find toxic behavior, like repeated toxic behavior and toxic human relationships, to be incredibly dull and uninteresting. After the kind of big rush of climactic excitement around 50%, like I mentioned, it just kind of and what I expected to happen happened, but there was nothing really exciting or climactic about it. The pacing for me was a little wonky. There was a spot towards the beginning where Lockwood is at Wuthering Heights. He's having to stay the night and he has this like ghostly dream where Catherine appears to him. And that was really exciting and atmospheric. Then there was the rush of drama and excitement around the halfway mark. And then it petered off from there. And I'm comparing that a little bit. Sorry, Emily, for comparing you to your sister, but in comparison to something like Jane Eyre, where you have this slow build of tension that kind of culminates at the end in this big climax, I just prefer that pacing a lot more. I will say, now that I've had a chance to sleep on it a little bit, I've had a few conversations with people on Instagram because I posted about this on my story and several people replied saying they loved the book, so I've had some interesting conversations with them today. I also read an essay from this collection that I showed you I got from the library, which was a feminist take. I found that helpful. It contextualized it for me. It helped me kind of step outside of my own negative experience with the book to be able to appreciate it for what it did. I'm not saying Emily Brontë was a bad writer. I'm not even saying this was a bad book. I'm just saying I didn't like it. Like, I think it's the sort of thing that I almost would have preferred to have read in school, because for me, this sort of book is made a lot more interesting by the discourse and the conversations around it, by examination, looking at specific themes. As a story, it just did not work for me. I'm very intrigued now that I've read this book by this movie adaptation that's coming out in February, the much discussed movie adaptation that pretty much everybody seems to agree seems ridiculous. Now that I've read the book, I can put my 2 cents in. Listen, I don't know. There is, to my eyes, nothing in common between the book that I just read and what is depicted in that trailer. So I'm really interested to see what happens with this. Honestly, the trailer actually made it seem a little campy, which, while I think that kind of destroys the pretty serious themes that the book explores, could potentially make the story more interesting. I'll be interested to see everybody else's reviews though and see what people say. So kind of a dud. It's the first book on my 26 and 26, my first classic of the year. As far as a star rating, I'm kind of tempted to leave it unrated. I'm kind of tempted to give it a 2. That's what I would give it. If it was just up to my own enjoyment, this would get a 2-star for sure. 2-star for me means I did not like this book, and that's where I'm landing. However, again, I do appreciate some things about what Emily Brontë was doing, and I do think it is a work of quality. So I might throw her a little extra 0.5. Maybe we'll settle 2.5. I just can't see it sitting at a 3 because a 3 for me means I liked this book. Well, as you could tell from the vlog footage earlier, I went back out to the parks today. The weather is even nicer today, so I actually have tried 3 parks near me, trying to find good places to walk, maybe to sit and read. Kind of struck out with 2 of them. One of them was okay. It's still actually the afternoon. It's so nice. I think I'm gonna go back out. I may try another park. Just go to 4 in a day. Why not? A day like this when it's almost 70 degrees and sunny, I just can't sit inside. I've got to get out. So I'm gonna head back out, maybe do a little reading in a park, not Wuthering Heights, thank God, because we have moved on. That's gonna do it for this video. Thank y'all so much. Please, if you've read Wuthering Heights, you gotta sound off in the comments. I gotta know how people feel about this book, and I think I could be talked into, if not liking it, at least appreciating it. I look forward to talking to y'all in the comments. Please subscribe if you want more videos like this, and I will see y'all next time.